Yeah. Back at it with Stack Habit.
Back at it like a great stack habit and fire.
Yeah. I'll be hovering, breathing hard on the mic.
Hey, so y'all, I keep seeing these responses like, hey man, you breathing all in the mic. Yo, it's like this. So we switching. We got a whole new setup coming this week.
So just
y'all
work with us, please. Be a little bit more patient with us, guys. I have given him a little tip, so hopefully he will remember it. And if you see me nudging him, it's so he can remember to pull the mic down, so y'all ain't hearing him.
Don't worry about tips.
That is tips. Everyone can use tips because we don't all know it. We don't know it all. So we all still learning.
That's not the tip I'm talking about.
All right. Anyway, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, let's go.
Hey, so Jordan Peterson, man, somebody put this video compilation together for his best comebacks, and so I want to hear how this sound. I know it's probably like ultimate roast.
Okay,
so
let's do it.
I think by the time I've released this, I've already released other Jordan Peterson, so y'all probably can already see us reacting to Jordan Peterson. So I'm thinking this is probably going to be after the fact. So,
all right. Well, I like him from what we did yesterday. It was really good. While you're gearing up, and put that on your knee because they already hear your rumbling. So go ahead and put it on your leg, babe. See, they hear all the headphones and all of the, yeah. Love you guys. Appreciate your patience.
Peterson, do you have any comments on the Nazi presence at your protest?
Look how he be standing like,
oh.
Look how he become like, say something.
Say what? He was like, what? Nazi presence? What is
say
he
something
saying?
stupid now.
The presence of Nazis and white supremacists assaulting people at your protest. Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I don't like Nazis.
And I'm sure, I mean, I would hope that if I were a student of Dr. Peterson, that he would refer to me as she and wouldn't have a problem with that. But at the end of the day, you know, a personal pronoun preference still is a preference for what language other people use. And at the end of the day, I don't...
I'm sorry, man. He got the look of,
He'd be
of
so
a
cool with it.
chill Tom Cruise in a
So
Tom
cool
Cruise movie. I'm sorry. He got the look like...
He had that look like, you really know you're stupid, right?
Please.
Like he just going...
Like blank what? Don't try me.
ultimate control over what Dr. Peterson, what the language he chooses to use, or anybody else for that matters. That's up to them.
Okay, let me find out then.
Arises,
let me find out. If she were a student of yours, what would you call her?
She.
You would. Okay. We've established that.
Why should your right to freedom of speech trump a trans person's right not to be offended?
Because in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now. You know, like you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that? It's been rather uncomfortable.
Well, I'm very glad I put you on the spot.
Well,
I'm very glad that I've exercised my freedom of speech.
You get my point. It's like you're doing what you should do, which is digging a bit to see what the hell's going on.
So
and that is what you should do. But you're exercising your freedom of speech to certainly risk offending me. And that's fine. I think more power to you as far as I'm concerned.
So you haven't sat there and... I'm just trying to work that out. I mean...
Ha, gotcha.
You have got me. You have got me. I'm trying to work that through in my head.
And there's not a secular humanist organization or country on the planet that has ever produced as a good thing, an intentional good thing, rapists and murderers. So,
well, that's highly debatable. That's highly debatable.
Actually,
I mean, one
it's
of the things
absolutely true because there's never been a secular humanist government on the planet.
I don't know. I think the Soviets were pretty secular.
No,
humanists.
with all due apologies, you do not know the first thing about what secular humanism is. You should read the secular humanist manifestos, because what happened in Russia, in communist countries, was an institution of a religious-like structure centered around an individual and forced atheism, none of which is consistent with humanism.
The great American philosopher Beyonce Knowles
said
that it has been said that racism is so American that if you challenge racism, you look like you're challenging America. We are challenging inequality. We are challenging the refusal to see me as an individual. When we overcome that, have at it, we're all on equal plane.
I think it's fine. I think it's good.
The pot is getting stirred here.
So I've got a couple of questions.
So let's your side's folks. I'm going to go to Jordan, then to you,
Let's
Michelle.
assume for a moment that I've benefited from my white privilege. Okay, so let's assume that. That's fine. That's what you would say. So, so let's say, here, let's get precise about this, okay?
Was that very individual of you?
Let's get precise about this, okay?
Let's get precise.
To what degree is my present level of attainment or achievement a consequence of my white privilege? And I don't mean sort of. I mean, do you mean 5%? Do you mean 15%? Do you mean 25%? Do you mean 75%? And what do you propose I do about it? How about a tax? How about a tax that's like specialized for me so that I can account for my damn privilege, so that I can stop hearing about it? Now, let's get precise about one other.
He said, wow. He said, how about they tax all white privileged people? He said, then would you still talk about it then?
Okay. Never heard of that perspective.
Whoa.
Carry on. I'm curious to hear what else they got to say.
Okay. We'll get precise about one other thing. Now,
precise?
Yeah, precise, yes. And so, if we can agree, and we haven't, that the left can go too far, which it clearly can, then how would my worthy opponents precisely define when the left that they stand for has gone too far? You didn't like equity, equality of outcome. I think that's a great marker. But if you have a better suggestion and won't sidestep the question, so let's figure out how I can dispense with my white privilege, and so that you can tell me when the left has gone too far, since they clearly can. And that's what this debate is about political correctness. It's about the left going too far. And I think it's gone too far in many ways. And I'd like to figure out exactly how and when, so the reasonable left could make its ascendance again and we could quit all this nonsense.
When you talk about, feminizing men, it almost sounds derogatory. It's almost as if you're saying that to be feminine or to express any sort of femininity is actually inferior to masculinity. And I think that is a huge problem even within the language that we use. When you say, don't be such a girl, don't be such a pussy, the greatest insults that men can give each other tend to have feminine or origins, like, as I said, pussy or faggot, or anything like that. And I think, again, that speaks to a very systematic inequality between the genders. And
you attributed the rates of mental illness among men to their inability to express, say, sentimental emotions. Well, and I don't think there's a shred of clinical evidence to support that stance.
No.
Well, I don't think there's a shred of evidence to support that stance. The kind of violence, for example, that Lawrence is discussing is a consequence of competitive violence among young men as they move
I think there
towards.
is some evidence that men find it difficult to talk about things, and that
and they also
ways
find
in which you can help young
out.
men to talk about things.
And that's the evidence for the differential rates of mental health suffering.
I also don't think when you're talking about things being so innate. Judith Butler would have said that, gender is a construct, that gender is a performance.
Well, Judith Butler doesn't know what she's talking about in the least, so I don't accept that.
That's interesting, but
she's no scientist, she doesn't know the psychological literature.
And this is all under the influence, you say, of postmodernism and neo-Marxism.
Yeah,
but aren't those things two separate things?
They're completely separate. And this is something I've been criticized for. Dr. Peterson doesn't understand the difference between neo-Marxism and postmodernism. It's like, I understand the difference perfectly well. It isn't me that's conflating them. It turns out that the people who push postmodern doctrines in the university almost always ally themselves with a Marxist viewpoint. And that is logically incoherent. But I would say the postmodernists really don't give a damn for logical coherence, because they regard that as part of the oppressive, patriarchal, Eurocentric view of the world. The idea that there's an objective reality and all of that, and that you can deal with it with logic.
You accept this oppression narrative without question. You know, 120
I
years
don't.
ago...
I don't accept anything without question. I'm just telling you a fact.
That's not a fact.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Women were expected to stay home and take care of the kids and cook a meal.
Women didn't have reliable birth control until 1960. You know, don't you think that played a role? Don't you think the fact that they didn't have reliable care for
Are you
their
blaming women
cycles,
for not being allowed to lead countries, to lead nations? Because they didn't
They were allowed to lead nations. There were queens in many countries. I think you have no idea how much this oppression narrative has saturated your thinking.
Why do you think it is that so much of what you...
Yo.
Well, it is quite clear and evident to me that anytime you want to approach, have a debate, question with rebuttal, you need to have solid scientific evidence, or facts of whatever this subject matter is, whether it's historical facts, but it still needs to be solid empirical evidence from research studies, because that truly is the only thing he's going to respect as other scientists. I get it.
Gotcha. Right. So you can't come with that fluff, your opinion, your left view.
If you're relying on news resources to be your only resource, and then you want to approach him, that's the wrong information, the absolute wrong information.
say is so very popular with the alt-right.
It isn't. And you don't have any evidence for that at all. More than the evidence that alt-right people watch this show.
Neonite web.
I just said it. Evidence. The man is like, please, you're talking on the side of your neck, and I love it. Call the person out every single time, and that's what we need to do. Even just as regular citizens, when people are they're talking to you about stuff that's, might be very important that you see in the news. What's your evidence? What are you relying on? Your regular news chatter?
That's the one I'm going on.
Civilization.
Oh, well, that was all taken apart today by a number of Jewish publications, by the way, showing that, first of all, that was all satirical commentary on the part of the alt-right, directed at taking me down, for example. And there was an alt-right article yesterday published saying that I was a Jewish stooge and shill. So, this is absolute nonsense, and I don't primarily to the alt-right. There's no evidence for that at all. It's the proclivity of...
I never said primarily, Jordan. What I'm interested in is why you think that you get the reaction that you do from the alt-right. Looking at, the Cathy Newman documentary.
What reaction?
Interview.
There's 10 million people watched that and commented on it.
I'm talking about what I saw, and I'm curious to know what your reaction was to the glee with which the alt-right seized upon that.
I don't accept.
Should we deal with the death threats? I mean, she had, I think, a dozen.
I don't accept the concept that it was the alt-right that was doing this. There were 10 million people who commented on that video, and about 95% of them commented negatively on Cathy Newman's behavior. You think there's 10 million alt-right trolls watching that? I see very little of the pursuit of justice characterizing the modern university. I see a tremendous amount of the pursuit of vengeance for things that don't even deserve to have vengeance extracted for them.
So give me an example of what doesn't deserve vengeance.
How about the existence of the patriarchy?
But you don't mean now that women have not suffered injustices. In Britain, Virginia Woolf couldn't go to university, or rather she couldn't get a degree. Women have been excluded in all kinds of ways from social situations, have they not?
Yes, but people have been excluded from social situations in all kinds of ways. And I don't like the narrative, the social historical injustice narrative as a way of looking at the world. The way that young people now are talking about the relationships between men and women throughout history is that the fundamental narrative is that men oppressed women throughout the course of history. And then that kind of came to an end when everybody woke up in 1964.
No.
Yeah, really. That's really it.
No, listen, I don't know what it's like in Canadian universities, but that's what I call, and forgive this European reference, that's a kind of Punch and Judy way of seeing it. That is not how universities...
So, okay, I hear what's going on. I don't really know about... I'm aware of the women movement, but that wasn't something that I truly studied, and really honestly cared to dive in deeper about. But I do remember that a lot of times that was the whole initiation of the women movement, is because they lacked certain rights and, privileges that men did have.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of a little confused as to what's going on here.
I am too.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not
so
sure
take it back just a little bit again.
But I know it's something related to equality.
Right, because he was saying, "Oh no, women were overlooked in many areas." So let me just take it back a little bit, real fast.
Yeah, really.
No,
really it.
No. Listen, I don't know what it's like in Canadian universities, but that's what I call, and forgive this European reference, that's a kind of Punch and Judy way of seeing it. That is not how universities as a whole operate.
Well, that's how they operate in Canada. We had the biggest scandal in Canadian university history last year when a graduate student was hauled in front of a Maoist inquisition for daring to show a 5-minute video of me discussing issues like this on public television. The universities are in far worse shape. Maybe they're not in such bad shape in the UK as they are in North America, but they're in plenty bad shape in North America.
Forgive me, and I'm sorry you were involved, but that is not the biggest scandal. The biggest scandal will be the number, for instance, of suicides that are prevalent amongst undergraduates. The fact that one academic was hauled up, in my view, inappropriately for doing what was done is not the biggest scandal. You're inflating
It's
things.
not the biggest tragedy. The suicides are a bigger tragedy, but it was certainly the biggest scandal. Canadian universities don't make international news.
Your background, it's pretty
Well,
he said how it can be. So we don't make the international news. So how was it the biggest scandal? You don't even see us on TV. But I like how Jordan keeps it to what it is, versus talking about all around so he could prove points to kind of discredit him and take him down. Like he talks about what it is, factual paperwork.
But how did you connect that with your current political perspective? What you said that you became disillusioned with socialism.
I became disillusioned with ideology.
With ideology in general.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's certainly not something that's changed. I mean, I don't like ideologues.
Well, first of all,
I don't like ideologues. I don't like Nazis. I keep it real simple.
Idiots. I don't like idiots.
I don't like idiots.
Pretty much.
Oh my goodness.
I want to dive a little deeper into his. I really want to dive into more of what his true philosophy is, because now that I see that this is content that we're going to
include,
start doing a little bit more of, I definitely want to know a little bit more background around him and his perspective.
You seeing it? You
I mean, I know that, but like, what is his base? Like, what is his complete? Like, what is his mindset on?
I know he's conservative.
Yeah, on other things.
Wait, he's Canadian. What?
I don't know.
I don't know what does that mean for
I'm going to look a little further into him, because I like how he handles people in regards to questions. And when you're in a debate, people are going to state opinions as fact, but the real solid truth comes with the proof.
Yeah, in the pudding.
Yeah, I like it.
Drop top in it. All right, man. Like, comment, subscribe.
So what do you think? You want to do a little bit more research about him?
We doing it.
No,
I can pull his bio up.
Yeah.
Pull his bio up and check him out.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely pull his bio up and look at the details, some of the stuff, so you have a full bird's eye view when you're doing these videos, so you know everything, who he is. So when you see him talking about it, okay. You get a full understanding when you talk to other people, because this is who I am. This is what I study.
Mm-hmm. And this is what I believe.
And what made me go on to this belief is what I'm curious to know. Like, when I start wanting to take this position.
Because he talks about quite a few range of topics, but it may be specific to certain topics. But if we're just doing certain videos and we don't really know, his complete, way of thinking or whatever. So I'm kind of curious to know, we know he's not a leftist.
She was like, what? How do you feel about Nazis showing up to your events? He was like, Look.
I
don't like Nazis.
So true.
All right,
so
man.
True.
Like, comment, subscribe. Don't take a nose dive. Comment down in the section below if you want some more.
See you in the next video, guys. Love you. And stay warm because it's freezing here in Cali now. I'm cold.
I don't like cold.